Hello, hello. Welcome back. And today we have such a good video on how gossip and talking bad hurts you more than the other party and how to stop. Because really, it's hard to stop if it's just like hurting the other party. But what if you knew that it is hurting you and affecting your life more than you could ever imagine? So this is going to be a super powerful video you're not going to want to miss. And yes, it is audio only. And yeah, so don't be looking for the video to change. I just wanted to put that disclaimer. And yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most important videos I've ever done. So the other night, I had this dream. And it was of my best friend when I was little, growing up. And I was telling her in my dream that so-and-so said this. And she told me so poignantly, and it's still stuck in my mind. She said, "Stop. Don't. You don't know how many of my friends cut themselves because of gossip. Like when people, do self-harm, like that kind of thing." And anyways, it was crazy and it stood out in my mind. And all of this just flowed out of me the next morning. I was just writing it all down, what it was about. So that's how I know this is going to be a good video, because, when it just flows out of you, that's when you know it's going to be good. So let's get into it. Gossip really hurts people. So don't talk bad about people. And women especially are really good at ruining reputations, because we're the ones that gossip. Like guys pretty much never do. But women do it a lot, unfortunately. And can really ruin people's reputations. Like all throughout history, that has been the fact. So let's not be like that. And this girl that, I had the dream about, who was my best friend when I was young, this girl, she would never, like one thing was really interesting about her, she would never, ever talk bad of anyone, even if they were in the wrong, especially family. Like, I remember being really little and playing Barbies and putting on a wedding, with the Barbies. And there was an actual wedding of one of her cousins, or her, I don't know how to say it, I'll just refer to it as cousin. And she was very kind of like loose in her morals. Like she had kids with so many different guys and really had a rough life. Like I don't know if she was on drugs and other things, I don't know. But, we were saying the vows when we were playing the Barbies of, to forsake all others and till death do we part, and how it goes. And I was saying, well, your cousin really doesn't follow that. And she just pursed her lips and stayed quiet. She would not say anything. And so then I apologized and I was like, "I'm sorry." And she said, "It's okay, but just don't talk bad like that." And that stuck in my mind. I was like, wow. And I still really look up to that, of how much someone can just stand up for their family. And standing up for your family, like just not talking bad, doesn't mean you agree with what they're doing or that it's okay. Like, no. Like, obviously, we all knew that wasn't right. But that doesn't mean we have to talk about that and just bring them down, right? So stand up for your family. Let's stand up for our families. Stand up for each other. And yeah, not just be constantly talking about everybody's weaknesses, because we all have them. I mean, we're human, we're not perfect. But it doesn't help the matters at all to be talking about how bad somebody else is, right? And this is one amazing thing about that's in religion. I'll take it from when I've studied the Quran, and they have this beautiful concept in their culture of talking of how the woman and the man, they're a covering for each other. So when you're married, you are each other's covering. That's how it's put. So that means you cover the other person. You shield everybody else from seeing their faults, their flaws. You cover them. And I just think that is so, so beautiful. That concept, right? That you know that your partner isn't going to be jabbing you behind your back. Instead, they're covering you. They know that you're not perfect, but they're not going to be talking to everyone about it. And if anybody else talks about it, they're going to be shielding you and covering you and putting you out there in the world under the best light possible. And I think that's a beautiful thing that I think we all should do. Be each other's covering. And especially when we're married, and especially we should not talk about our husbands to his mom or our mom. Like, no sharing those things. That only destroys the family, because long after your fight has resolved, your mom or mother-in-law is going to be asking, so how's it going? How is he treating you? Is he still doing this to you? And it's going to trigger that back up, even though everything was perfectly fine and you probably even forgot about it. So yeah, save yourself that. And this doesn't mean never thinking anything bad or not going through hard times or how to fix things. Just go to people who can actually help you. And, like the pastor who is really good with counseling marriages or whatever the thing is. Just don't go to everybody and anybody and be sharing it like most people do. So, just don't, like how to not gossip and stuff, just don't have a critical spirit. Most things don't need to be talked about. If someone's doing something wrong or you don't like it or they're acting a certain way, like most of the things, they don't need to be talked about to somebody else or shared, right? Like that's the interesting thing that my friend told me, and I was like, wow, that is really, really good. Most things just don't need to be talked about. And of course, you can talk about these things with someone you absolutely trust. And especially if it's someone, that you're talking about that you're truly worried about, or that they're a bad person, like if any of those things are happening, then of course, like talk about it. Like when you're talking to your kids, you're not going to teach them that everybody is just like love and light and there's no bad people out there. Like, no, you're going to be telling them, be careful around this person and don't say this. And, you're going to be saying it. So what I'm saying is just, there are people you can share everything with, but just do it to the ones you absolutely trust. And that will probably be just one or two people in your life that that they won't be spreading it. And of course, your kids when you're teaching them and everything. Just don't do it for fun or as just something to talk about. We see that as most people, they don't have anything in their lives to talk about or anything going on. So what do they talk about? They talk about what's happening in the world, and they talk about other people. Both things which are usually very negative conversations, right? So anyways, let's not just add to that is all I'm saying. Stand up for other people. Try to make them look good. Instead, talk good behind their back. I was at one of the top 4-H conferences in America. I had done the highest honors for the record books and like all of these things where I got to go to this huge event that delegates from every state got to go to. And it was a really big deal and it was super amazing. And I absolutely adored that experience. It was called National 4-H Congress. And one of the speakers there was saying, he was holding a workshop on how to be charismatic. And one of the things he was saying is, be known for talking behind other people's backs. And we were all like quiet and we're like, what? What does he mean by that? And he's like, yes, be known for talking behind other people's backs, but talk good behind their backs. Everyone loves to know when they hear from another person that, oh, she's been talking like so good about you and this and this and this. Like everyone loves to hear that, and that will make you a charismatic person, someone loved by people. So talk good behind people's backs. And yeah, there was a little clip from a sermon I was listening to, and it really struck me. I was like, oh my. He was saying that when we're an accuser, because what is the devil? He's an accuser. And devil and his demons, they accuse. They go before God and accuse us in front of him, saying that, you know what, this person did this. Why don't you let something bad happen to them? Why don't you just, send them, to the horrible place, that type of thing. And so when we are talking bad about other people, we become the accuser. Now we're going up before God and being like, you know what, God, this person has done all of these things. And we're becoming that person's accuser instead of being their advocate. So we're like becoming on the devil's side when we talk bad about people. And of course you can talk to God about anything, and there are really bad people who have done really bad things. And of course you can pour your heart out to God. But what I'm saying is when we're just being critical of people over really insignificant or not that huge things, and we're just condemning them, and it really doesn't matter, right? Like, I'm talking about those things. So, yeah, let's not just be condemning people and judging people just to be that way. Let's not have a critical spirit. That's the thing. Because we can judge. Like, we have to judge. Like, how do we judge, if something's rotten and will make us sick or not? Like, we have to judge that apple and be like, okay, this is a good apple. Like, we're constantly judging. There's nothing wrong with judging. It's just the critical spirit part that we have to be. That is what's being talked about. Like when the Bible verse says, judge not, so you're not judged. I was always confused by what that meant. I was like, how do we not judge? Like, we judge everything. Like, if this food is good to eat, or if this is moral or not. Like, we have to be judging everything, or else would be doing everything and have no standards and morals or convictions. And I was explained that it's just not having a critical spirit. That's what it's talking about. Just don't have this super critical spirit where you're just always being critical of other people. That's what it means. Because most of us have so many things wrong with us that we can be fixing before we even start to look at the other party or anybody else. Like in the Gospels where Jesus is like, before you're trying to take the mote or the speck out of your brother's eye, why don't you work on taking the beam out of your own eye, right? So that's one way of putting this really, really well. And if someone is talking bad about somebody else, don't be part of it. Walk away or say, they always say such nice things about you. That's always something that will just take people by surprise. So if like the women's group is talking about, talking bad about someone, either walk away so you're not part of it, or just say, well, Susan always says such nice things about you. Like, kind of make them feel bad about talking so rudely, But I know that's kind of hard to do if you're non-confrontational like I am. So sometimes the best thing to do is just to leave, so you're not enticed into being part of it. I mean, you wouldn't like it, right? To know that other people are talking behind your back. So why would we do it to somebody else? Talk about others as if they are in the room. This is a really good one that will keep you right on track. This is the best thing you can do. Talk about others as if they are in the room. So if you wouldn't say something as if they were in that room with you, then don't say it. And that will save your hide so many times, I promise you. And people, your husband even, won't trust you if you're talking bad about others. Or if you're constantly being like, did you see what she's wearing? Because they know you're talking about them that same way to other people. So he won't be able to trust you. Your friends won't be able to trust you. Your family won't be able to trust you. And I constantly see this. Like if someone, like one of my friends is talking about someone and being like, oh, she's this and all of that, then all of a sudden I'm thinking that, oh, she's judging me for the same thing. And then I start worrying about, like, I'm like, oh, does she see me the same way? Do I do that? I'm sure we all can relate to that, right? So, yeah, let's not be part of that, right? When I was 14 at my best friend's wedding, I was just like helping out, and then there was some quiet time. So was sitting next to this older man who I found out later he was 90. He did not look it. He was so young and vibrant and full of life. But his wife had just recently died. And so he was showing me pictures of her, and it was all these old black and whites, and how much he missed her and everything. But he was telling me some things about his wife. He was giving me life advice. He said that she never complained and never spoke bad of others. I mean, this is even to her own husband. And yes, of course she would if it was necessary, I'm sure, but not just as something to talk about. And another thing he told me that really stuck with me is that your thoughts are heard in heaven louder than words are spoken on earth. So that was also really powerful. There's a quote I heard a while back that said, "What Susan says about Sally says more about Susan than of Sally." So that's, that's the thing where gossip hurts you more than the other person, because it says more about you and your character than it does about the other person. So yeah, just work on being positive and loving and caring about other people. Of course, people are not perfect and they're going to be, really annoying and everything. But it usually isn't edifying to be just spreading it and talking about it. So I hope this helped you guys. It was something that was really on my heart. And yeah, I hope you found it useful and got some really good tips from it. Definitely share below what was one of your biggest takeaways, or if you have something else to add. And yeah, definitely like this video, share it, save it, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.